What we're going to talk about today is the issue of being afraid of the ground, and being afraid of the ground has multiple flow-on effects. It causes tension higher up in the body, causes the hips to tense up, the quads, the butt, the shoulders, not just the ground, but we're afraid of touch. And being afraid of touch is quite a complex issue, actually. It's quite a strange and complex issue. I don't know when this started for me, but I know that it's common to a lot of us. I've seen it in a lot of bodies now. And it's the shirking away from contact. So like if you're sitting on a table, for example, like at a cafe and you're reading a book, being afraid of that touch or of the ground in a sense would be like not letting your elbows fully rest into heaviness on the table. In the context of something like a horse stance, which I love to use as an example, if I'm just going to do a high one like this, being afraid of the ground would mean that I'm clinging onto certain muscular tensions rather than just allowing my weight to be fully felt through my feet. So like an example of not allowing my weight to be fully felt would be kind of tensing my calf muscles or tensing my knees, the tissues around my knees. If I'm on my heels, it would be kind of like trying to spread or trying to squeeze. I'm kind of messing around rather than just allowing my weight to sink through my heels. And so in this case, I'm less afraid of the ground because I'm just welcoming the sensation of my heaviness. But what that requires in order to do that is to be released in the tension in my legs. If my leg can't release into the tension, it's because there's a reactivity. So there's a certain emotional reactivity to the sensation of pain in the legs. In this case, the pain isn't injurious, it's just very uncomfortable. And so in a case like this, by increasing our pain tolerance, what we can also do is decrease our emotional reactivity. Now, emotional reactivity is the thing which causes us to tense up. If you think about it, right, you're walking around with stresses, you're having a conversation with someone that's going the wrong direction and it's feeling a bit like crappy, you'll tense. If you're working and you're working for too long on a laptop beyond the time when your body's actually happy with it, you'll tense up. Your breath will shorten. Tissues and the natural layers and separations between the layers of the tissues, all of the different systems of your body, the vascular system, the lymphatic system, the nervous system, the muscles, the fascia, all of that, they're not going to have this sense of pliability between them, which allows for the transmission of energy through the body. And so this contracted, locked, fearful state shows up in many ways. And it's usually a withdrawing away from experience, from sense experience. The ground is an experience. Standing is an experience. Feeling my feet on the ground is an experience. Allowing the tension to sink through my body is an experience. And if in the process of experiencing that, it's triggering or bringing up or revealing where I'm tense, where I'm tight, where I'm emotionally reactive, then what it's doing is it's revealing my suffering. And when I start to spend time there and I sit behind the thoughts, behind the feelings, behind the beliefs, and just allow it, then I'm actually processing my suffering. So yeah, an example of this is, Qigong, Tai Chi people, internal martial arts people, anyone who does a lot of standing, they tend to have really good balance. They tend to be hard to push over. And the reason is because they're very much in touch with the ground. They sense and feel the ground. They're organizing their body from the ground to the crown as one piece, which does what it needs to stabilize. The breath is full. There is a level of intra-abdominal pressure. There is a level of fullness of all of the cavities through the rib cage, the back, especially this area in the lower and mid back. There's a broadness across the chest. There's this warrior-like stance, which is holding no tension high up. It's trust. When you push into that and it's organized, when my stance is organized and someone pushes into me, I'm directing force through my system, as the system is a conduit, it's a vessel. It's like one container which is empty in the sense that like it's full of awareness, but it's empty of excess effort. So what you push through and what I return to you is felt like that. So really this is just efficiency. It's just being a state where you're not in fight or flight, you know, where you can actually like sense, absorb, feel emotions, physical sensations, and all of the chatter dissolves and it's just very grounded. You're in your body, feeling the ground, very relaxed, very trusting, capable, strong. And this is the mode of being that you want to take through everything you do. And you want to be as aware as possible of when something you're doing seems to be on paper to be productive. Bench press, strength training, whatever. But in actual fact, what it's doing to your mode of being is it's shifting you into a state where you are tense, reactive, your energy's all high up, you're bound. What happens with these practices, like traditional strength training and stuff, when it's not approached with this level of awareness, is it can create a body which actually feels tighter and stiffer and more bound up, and doesn't necessarily feel more vital, energized, or athletic, or strong. You're moving, but you're fighting yourself. You're squeezing, you're tensing, you're bracing, you're not allowing the movement to happen. So from a muscular tension standpoint, if all you care about is mechanical tension and muscular hypertrophy and the metabolism of that to get like a beefcake, that's fine. But from the perspective of the nervous system and the brain and the neurology and your ability to sense the world around you, which is a much more fundamental function for health in general, you're not doing such great work for yourself, arguably. And it's not that you don't need to be strong, but it's that you can get strong in ways which don't create this level of tension. A good example of this is my body lately. I've been doing less of that traditional strength training and I've been doing a lot more Qigong and standing. What I've noticed is that the ropey, tense, wiry hardness of my muscle has begun to soften, and it's like it's ungripped. And in the ungripping, I'm actually looking a bit bigger in some ways. So like you would measure my arm and you know it doesn't look as jacked and maybe it's not as big, but like there is a fullness. There's a certain quality of fullness and suppleness to my body. And especially around here, around where most of the power is transmitted. So the power is created from the ground via the hips and it's transmitted through the spine. The thoracolumbar junction, the lumbar spine, the lower part of the trunk, the yao as it's called in Tai Chi. These things transmit the power, the hips generate the power, the ground is how we sense and stabilize to be able to generate the power. So what happens is this starts to grow because you're not tensing it, you're not afraid of the ground, you're not restricting your breathing and using your diaphragm as a stabilizer, you're instead using your diaphragm to breathe because your stability is coming from your ability to sense your body and organize it. So you grow, your rib cage, it grows because it's not constricted. The breath is constantly pumping it into growth. These tight spots in your lower back, the tight spots in the wherever, the chest, the right side, whatever, they begin to unfold and open, and the tissues begin to separate enough to allow the transmission of energy, be that the separation in the layers like the fascia, the sheaths of muscle, like what you would get from myotherapy or a massage, that kind of like tissue health, but also in the sense of blood flow, lymphatic, sensory, all of this stuff. So this comes from not being afraid. When people are afraid, they tense up. When people are afraid, they try too hard. When people are afraid, they become self-judgmental. When people are afraid, they're not processing real experience. They are replaying past depictions and stories of experience. While being physically present now, they're mentally absent because they're stuck in story. And so this is how, at the more subtle layer, fear shows up in the body. 2020 and all that bullshit, distance, no touch, don't breathe. Come on, guys, think about the effect that has on a human system when repeated and conditioned into the mind like that. So this stuff allows us to release the fear of being exactly what and where and who we are. It allows us to release into a higher level of function and efficiency. And you'll notice that just not being afraid of touch is the key part. Touch things, touch things. Don't be afraid to touch things and to feel things. This is what feeds your brain. This is what helps a brain develop. It's what helps regulate a nervous system. And if we don't have these sensory inputs and this sensory stimulation of touch, our health starts to deteriorate quite rapidly. And it's really important that we sense through these different sensory pathways regularly throughout the day, because if we don't, it's like you're just leaving a car in a garage stagnant, you know. Even if it was in good shape, all of the rubber and the seals that join the pipes, they start to get brittle. Then when you try to drive the car, those pipes break and they crack because the rubber's dehydrated. So we need to maintain a healthy, hydrated body with tissue separation and with the ability to sense and interact with our environment with minimal excess tension, minimal fear, and that's when human life becomes beautiful. So yeah, I think that's my video on this really. If you're interested in more, like, you can start with my standing series, which I've got on YouTube. There's a few standing videos. You can work with stuff like a horse stance. There are many different stances. What needs to happen is you need to be able to spend a lot of time in a lower position. You need to be able to work through discomfort and not allow this comfort in this frame, this fullness of breath and this relaxation to change when you sink. You need to be able to sink and feel everything that you're feeling in your legs, challenge yourself without running away from that. And you'll notice, like, I stand the same way. Like, I don't fold, I don't arch my back, I don't tense up, I'm not squeezing my hips. I'm feeling my feet, I'm sinking through my feet, long through my crown, big through my breath, broad through my shoulders, just relaxed, and then I just sink down and I can just stay here. And this is where the good work happens. But you could apply the same thing in a plank as well. You know, you can like be here and you're reaching through the ground. I'm not focusing on my shoulders. I'm not developing some weird psychological complex about needing to get big shoulders, otherwise no one's gonna love me. I'm just pressing my hands into the ground and I'm just holding my body in shape and I'm letting the stimulus be the stimulus. So this is quite a yin practice in that you just let things be as they are, but that doesn't mean that you're not putting yourself in challenging positions. You could work a side plank like this. And it's not about, oh, I'm gonna crunch this and I'm just breathing, just holding it. And if I can do that, and if it's really that easy, well then I can relax even more and get even more dialed into my body. And I suggest to you that yes, you can add weight to these things, but what most people need more than adding weight is learning how to relax under pressure, relax under stress. So before adding weight, consider, how relaxed can I be without turning into a wet blanket? How relaxed can I be while actually holding the shape and doing what's essential in this position? And I think that practice of relaxing under stress and using more of what your body is capable of with less excessive trying is going to be far more valuable to you as a human than constantly looking to overload yourself while constantly not enjoying your experience of being in your body. So another example is we could try a handstand. You could apply the same concepts to this. You could just reach through the ground, feel your hands. Yeah, apply all the same principles. It's all good. It's completely fine. No, it's all good. I've been filming videos in like a really relaxed way anyway, because it's fun for me. So when stuff like this happens, it's kind of cool. It's like, yeah.
Thank you. I can see you trying to film content, but like, we're so noisy.
No, you're good. You're good.